That's kind of. Let's see. Do I get a thing up here? Yes.
I think they forgot us at headquarters.
Hello.
They'll get to us, I believe.
Okay.
You're right.
There
All
we
right,
go.
everybody.
There
The
we
Stone
go.
of Democracy again calls this meeting of the Benzie Dems to order. Thank you all for being here in person and on Zoom. We've got about 40 people on Zoom and about 20 people or more, I think, in person who braved the snow. So welcome all. We will start the meeting now with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the United States
of the United States of America,
to the republic for
To
which
the
it
republic for which
stands,
it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice
for
for all.
all someday.
Okay.
All right, and I will turn this over to our leader, Jim Dulso.
Thank you, Jana, and thank you everybody for being here, either virtually or in person. It was a bit of a whiteout on the trip here, but radar shows it's going to be fine on the way home. So you'll be all inspired and have nice weather to drive in. Okay, we try to arrange things right for everybody, but thank you all for being here, particularly here. And we want to thank some people for making this meeting happen. Thanks to Pete for setting everything up ahead of time in terms of chairs and everything. Thanks to our marvelous Zoom crew, which is Tom, Jana, Mark, and live in color from Florida, Bill. All right, they're our Zoom crew, so thank you. And we have great food again today, as we do every one of these meetings. Thanks to Irene and Lindsay and Virginia and Judy and Pete and Mike and Kathy. And all y'all who are here, you have your work cut out for you because there's some great food over there, and please eat as much of it as you can. And the coffee's pretty good today, I gotta say. So dig in, okay? All right, so I can get this out of the way now. And I got some announcements for us to think about. First of all, I want to say,
Jim, we can't barely hear that microphone.
how's this?
Much
that
better.
Much better?
Perfect.
I wasn't
Yep.
following my own advice on the microphones. If you don't want people to hear you when you're using the microphone, hold it out here. They won't hear you. Okay, that's how you do it. Okay, great. First of all, it's 2024, and if you don't feel a little bit of in your heart about it, well, good for you. But I have to say, what all of us are finding here in the party as we work together, that feeling goes away, and a feeling of camaraderie and we're going to get this, we're going to get it good, comes alive in our hearts. So it's great to have you all here, get that feeling going together, and figure out ways that we can work as the Benzie Democrats to keep Benzie getting bluer and bluer, which has been going on, definitely. And I really think that if everybody works as hard as they did last time around, both here and around the state and around the country, we are going to do some serious crushing. I really, really think that's true. But for it to happen, we all have to work hard, just like we have the last few elections. Because when Democrats turn out, Democrats win. And that's the thing. So that's our theme this year. Democrats deliver, Democrats are going to win, okay? So I hope you'll all be able to help in whatever way you can. We've got a lot of work that lays ahead of us, just now beginning to rock and roll. Couple other things. On our website, which is benziedemocrats.com, benziedemocrats.com, if you missed Betsy Kofia's report on the legislature, which she gave to us at our November meeting, which was the last time we met, that is on benziedemocrats.com. You go there, there's a thing that says video up at the top, click on that, one more click and you're to our Benzie Democrats YouTube channel. And we are recording all of our meetings like this one. So after this one's over, you'll be able to go back and hear the replay on Jocelyn Benson as well, if you like. So please keep that in mind. We've got some petitions. Diane, are you here? Yeah, would you come up and talk to us about this for just a second? We have some petitions we're going to pass around. We want to get that going.
Sure. Do I have the right,
Use yours.
are we good? This close? Okay.
She got a second one.
Oh, do you want to see me too? Oh, all right. Okay. Hi. Oh, this is fun. Yeah.
People on Zoom can see you.
Okay, perfect. I'm glad I don't know where the camera is. I won't even think about it. Okay. Okay. So there are two petitions here. Jim had this one already, and it is for the legislation to reinstate good time credit program. You might have heard of that on the news. And does this have the same kind of deadline, or is there anything that else we need to know about this one?
I don't know, just it's here,
Okay,
so sign it.
it's here, and there's only one. There are 4 spots left on it, so please sign that one. And then I have another one here too, and then I'll just kind of go over some of what you need to pay attention to for both of them. This one is to get Callie Barr on the ballot, because we have to tell Jack to hit the road, and we might as well have a couple of options for that. And so even if you are plan to vote for Dr. Bob, if you would, go ahead and give Callie a chance to get on the ballot so that we have those choices. So as with any petition, I'm preaching to the choir here, so I'll try not to do it for long. You guys have done this before. But, it's really, really important to put the right thing in the right column with these. Otherwise, your signature doesn't do any good. Signature first, then printed name, then your street address.
Move, come.
Where it says city or township, wherever it is that
God,
you
are you
vote.
gonna
So,
start
for
doing-
example, my address is Honor, but I put Lake Township because that's where I vote. Zip code. And then I made a mistake this morning putting 2023 in there, and my husband caught it. So it's 2024, everybody. And so just, take your time and get the right things in the right place so that your signature will count. If you do go through all of these on the Callie, we do have more. So just keep turning the page on this very cutting edge clipboard. Okay. And then there's a pen that can go around with it if somehow it runs out of ink or something. I'm sure there's some more around here.
pens.
Yep. And
So I have
yep.
a question, because somebody had a question. So there's a question on the chat. Jody Decker says, reminder, you can't sign for Callie if you signed for Dr. Bob to be on the ballot. Is that true?
I have in my orientation that I went to, I did not hear that, but I did also do not
Yes,
remember hearing the opposite. Does that, so?
Can I,
Yeah, go ahead.
Chris Kitzman and I both reviewed the state law. That is true.
Okay, all right, so thank you for that. Yeah, so maybe what we will say is if you signed for Dr. Bob, don't sign here, but don't let your plan to, if you didn't do that, and you don't have to, maybe let's say it this way, you don't have to feel strongly about wanting Callie in that spot to sign the petition. Okay, yeah.
Sorry. Is there a reason we don't have Dr. Bob's page here as well? Is he already on the ballot? He has enough signatures? We just haven't done it.
I don't know the answer.
Answer that. We have not been sent anything by Bob. We were told we were, but we didn't see it show up at the post office. So that's all I know about it.
Okay, thank you.
As soon as we get one, we'll put it out, I promise.
And please accept my thanks for correcting me on that item that you did just a minute ago. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
I have a question. If somebody has already signed the first petition, you sign it again, my memory isn't as good as it used to be. Does it invalidate both? If you
No need
sign
to sign it again.
Yeah,
Right.
Mark's question was if he wasn't sure if he signed
don't
it before.
remember
If he
I
signed
signed
it
the
again
first
and
one.
he had before, would he invalidate it? And the answer is yes. So be careful. That's the message.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Diane. You're welcome. Who's one of our champion letter writers. So yeah, a few more thank yous here. We want to thank all the people who are writing letters to the editor. I don't know if you get the Record Patriot. I don't know if you pay attention, but there's a good letter in there every week or two. Sometimes there's 2 letters in there every week. And a lot of our people are really speaking out about what we need to speak out about as Democrats. So thank you all for doing that. That's just great. We'd also like to thank our data team, which is just really working hard to get all of our stuff in order so that when we're calling or
Ray,
canvassing
you
or
can't
sending
hear us.
postcards or whatever, we know what we're doing in terms of the data. And Chris and her folks have really, really done a great job on that. And also, Chris is our office manager, and she's one reason this place now looks so great and has so many systems in place that are running from computers to coffee makers. I'll tell you, it all works. It's just great. And so I want to thank her for that. But I also want to thank Michael Hertz, who's stepping up to be her backup for the office manager thing, which is great. Yeah, and generally, we're looking for help to back up people that are already doing stuff. So if you want to be a co-something, we'd love to have you, just so you know. Okay? Okay, so those are my chair announcements. Next up here, we're going to move on to a big announcement. You're the first to hear it. Big news, and Jana's going to give it to you.
Oh, boy. The heat's on. Well, and the heat will be on because we are going to be starting our Friday night movie nights again. So for the 3 nights, the 3 coldest wintry nights when you want to, you're tired of staying at home and watching TV and streaming, come here, be in the company of good people like you are today. There'll be some great food like chili and cornbread and some desserts and everything. And we are going to have a movie. So our first movie is going to be at 6:30 p.m. You're starting?
It opens at 5, the movie's at 6:30.
Okay. Doors open at 5. Get your seats, get your food. The film will start at 6:30. This is going to be Friday, January 26th, next Friday. And we are going to see The Birdcage. Who's heard of The Birdcage? All right. And it's wonderful, isn't it? Because it's got fabulous stars in it. It's got Robin Williams and Gene Hackman and Nathan Lane and Diane Wiest. But what's really kind of interesting, too, is it's an adaptation of, actually a remake of the 1978 French film La Cage aux Folles. And if you've seen the original French one, it is a delight and it's wonderful. It's also a collaboration between Mike Nichols and Elaine May, who some of us might remember is one of the funniest comedy duos absolutely ever. So again, bring your friends and family, come join us, enjoy the movie. And I'm not sure what the other 2 are going to be, but I think they're going to be surprises. So that's it. What did I forget? The date is Friday, January 26th, so next Friday. Doors open at 5 o'clock. No tickets needed, nothing, just come and enjoy and be prepared to have a wonderful evening with friends and a fabulous movie.
And chili, and cornbread, and salad, and dessert, and popcorn. Maybe even hot popcorn, because we got a popcorn maker. We're so well equipped, we have a popcorn. Can you believe that? And we'll also have some wine uncorked for you, and some beer, and some soft drinks. So you really don't need to bring anything except your fine foxy self. And we hope you do. Okay? That's this Friday starting at 5 with the food, 6:30 with the movie. Thank you. All right, so next up here, we're going to talk about one of Jana's great passions. She's written about it a number of times. You've seen her letters in the Record Patriot, and actually I think you've gotten in the big paper downtown with this stuff as well. Voting and being a poll voter worker. So Jana, tell us about what's going on with that quickly.
All right, you're going to get tired of hearing my voice today, but now you know what my husband has to deal with. I'm a poll worker. I've been an election judge back in Maryland, where I lived for 30 years, and then when came here, I kept that up. As you know, we have early voting this year, and I know many of you have signed up to be poll workers. If you've ever had the desire to be a poll worker, or if you're interested in the process, or even if you're skeptical about the process and just want to see how it works, being a poll worker is a great way to do this. You're helping your friends and neighbors vote, you're participating in the system, and I always feel a great sense of satisfaction when I'm done. This year, for the first time, Michigan has started early voting, and we have 9 days of early voting. I received a notice from Homestead Township with the days, but they didn't put the dates on it. So it just says Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it actually starts Saturday on the 17th of February, goes through the 25th, skips that Monday, and then the following Tuesday is the actual election day. So if you've got any time available, you don't have to do all 9 days. And I would suggest that you check with your local township clerk to see if he or she has enough poll workers, or if they need some people to fill in on certain days. I know there's been a lot of discussion on why we're having so much early voting and it's a waste of time. It's not a waste of time and money. This is giving people an opportunity to cast their ballots. There are many reasons why people can't get to the polls on election day. Ranging from work, childcare issues, elder care issues, medical appointments, weather like this. So this is just giving us more opportunities to cast the vote that we are entitled to do so. So again, we have a list of the township clerks on our Benzie Dems webpage. Ask me, Paul, Eileen, I know are poll workers. Other people here might be poll workers too. Ask us any questions. We'd be happy to help. And I think that's it. Yes.
Thank you, Jana. Yes, $15 an hour is kind of what they're paying, pretty much. And does vary. And as I think Jana said, you don't have to work all 9 days, but they really do need help. We've had 2 or 3 townships call and say, help, we need Democrats. You know, they got the Republican side filled, but they don't have the Democrat side filled. So come on, stand up for the party and do this. And you thank you. You do not have to live in that township. So if you, and it's fun. People say it's fun. Yeah, okay.
Can I add something too?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Probably want to do this as soon as possible because they're going to have training beforehand and you need to sign up so you can get the training. So I know I'm doing it in Inland Township.
Yeah, and to figure out how to contact your township, it can be hard to find them in the phone book. Go to benziedemocrats.com, benziedemocrats.com, and you'll see up there over here about Benzie, and the drop down has village, township, city governments, and you click on that and you see all of our townships, the county, and everything else. Lists the clerk, lists the phone number, lists the email, lists the address, lists where the polling place is. It's a wonderful list that Greta put together for us. We'll help with Chris and others to do all that, but it's now up on the website. So go there and look, and then call your township up and say, hey, I want to help. And if they say, well, we're all set, then go look and, well, what's the township near to you? Call them. You know, be aggressive about it. Go get it. Okay, next up here, we've got some thank yous and some other stuff from Chris.
Thank you, Jim. I wanted to add to that. We have also asked each precinct delegate to get a copy of the card that most people got in their township that listed the hours, the actual hours and dates of all of the early voting, and we will have them here. So for those of you who still like to look at things on paper, there will be a note here too. We have a whole booklet on each township here. So when you're hanging around, there's that. But I'm going to talk a little bit about lookouts today. I am subbing for Deanne Lal, who has been editing the all of the lookout reports. And what the lookouts are people who have blessedly volunteered to go to their township or city of Frankfurt meetings and take notes. Those notes, it's typically once a month. Those notes are then sent into an editor. I'm filling in as the editor at the moment, and ultimately they land in our constant contact email spot where it comes back to everybody in the township. So I know most of you have seen things from the Board of Commission that goes countywide, and you should be seeing them where we have a lookout in your own township. It's a great way to keep informed. Those lookouts are literally sitting in that space, sometimes by Zoom, looking out to project what's going on. I mean, how often can we all get to those meetings? So that's one connotation of that word. Another one is that they're looking out for us. They're looking out for all of their the constituents and all of the members of this group to really keep our best interests in mind. So I really want to put a big thank you out for all of those folks because it's you know, it's quite a little commitment, but it truly is getting great reviews from everyone. Yes, Judy.
Okay, I have one comment. I'm in Homestead Township. Therese Pfeiffer and I take turns going to the meeting. I just found out at the meeting last Wednesday that we are getting, if everything goes well, a Dollar General store at the corner of 31 and Goose Road. Who knew? I'm usually the only person there who's not speaking or has a reason to be there. I am surprised this hasn't been more talked about or more, well, it's controversial for me. Other people think, well, great, but there's already dollar stores in Honor. There's an Honor Market who sells a lot of the same things they would sell. So that's it.
Thank you, Judy, and that really is a great example of the kinds of things we can catch and how we're looking out and, again, then informing. Those folks are giving us real insight into what's going on and the outlook for our communities. There are examples everywhere, and it leads me to where we have some gaps. We have had lookouts in some of the places some people couldn't continue. Right now, we're missing people in some key townships, and I'm here to beg someone to step up. Blaine is one. There's a lot of stuff going on in Blaine Township and Gilmore Township that are zoning issues, development issues. We should know about that. Crystal Lake is another one. You've been aware of both some of the private and some public development with the Railroad Point, with the outlook. Some good stuff is going to happen. Some things that we should be watching about our watershed. With Crystal Lake being right there on that Crystal Lake, we need somebody there to tune in. So Blaine, Gilmore, Crystal Lake, Frankfurt, I think we haven't had one for a while, or has that changed?
She needs someone to step in because she's on the tree committee now.
Okay, so we do need someone there. We've had someone, I think Betsy Taylor was doing it, but we do need a new person there, a fresh one. And folks, that's the only city in Benzie County. So we should know what's going on there, you know. And the last one is Lake. And if you've been following the issues with Lake with some of the movement of a road, and they're also doing some zoning and some master plan coordination with other nearby counties or townships. There's a lot going on. And some of these townships are good friends of ours. Blaine is one that's on the cusp. It's a swing district right now. And it's a great opportunity to do some bipartisan stuff there if we know what's going on. Crystal Lake has been a good supporter. So if anybody wants to do that, it's 1 day a month. And then it's sitting somewhere and writing your notes up a little bit and sending them to somebody, me for the next 5 weeks, cleaning it up, and bang, you see your writing in print, you know, it goes public. So please sign up. If you want to do that, get in touch with Jim at jimdulzo@gmail.com. because he's sort of coordinating that, and just tell him you're interested, and then I'll work with you, or Deanne will, and show you how to do that. Meanwhile,
Chris, real quick.
two people in this room today. Oh, okay.
Sorry, this is Aubrey. I just have 2 quick things to add to that, if that's okay. I just put a link in the chat for those who are on the chat. The Betsy Current, we wrote an article a couple years ago about Dollar Generals in Northern Michigan and how zoning is a really big part about whether those are coming into communities or not. So please, if you're in the chat, you guys can read that. And if you're not, maybe we can send it out to you guys later. But then the second thing that I wanted to say is that on this topic of trying to get people to recruit to be these lookout reporters, because I'm a journalist, I was at a summit back in December for all Northern Michigan journalists. And that was one thing that we talked about, was how essentially we need more citizen journalists. We need more people like you, because there are fewer and fewer journalists in Northern Michigan. And especially, as we know, there's like one full-time employee at the Record Patriot. And obviously he can't go to every single meeting. And so you guys going to these really helps. And it helps because sometimes the things that you guys talk about won't just go to the Benzie Dems. It might get picked up by a bigger publication, and then it might, trickle out into the bigger, wider community. So it really is about citizen journalism, in my opinion. And I would love to keep that going.
Thank you, Aubrey. And it's also about being timely, because sometimes the minutes from the meetings don't come out right away. And that's what I want to give a shout out today to two people, Jim Thompson and Paul Marcuson. There are others that might get something in the future, but I want you to know that these two, Jim, the day after the meeting, sent in his notes. Thank you, Jim. And Paul did it within a few days. So I'm not going to walk around the room right now, but they get the prize today of a Benzie Dems pen. And, oh, Jim's ready. Woo! Would you take Paul too, unless Paul wants to come up? And a Dems Deliver pin, a pen and a pin. So thank you, guys. So word to the others, I love it when news is timely, hot off the press. Let's keep the info flowing. Okay, next piece, real quick. I want to let you guys know that we have a wish list here. I walked around last week and thought of 4 things that this office would really benefit from having. So I'm asking people in the membership to, if you look in your closets, look in your sheds, see what you have. If you don't have it and you have a little extra cash, you can donate one of these things to our operation here. But we need a vacuum cleaner. The one that's here has told me that it is going into retirement soon. 2, a toolbox, a household toolbox. Right now we have a hot mess in a cardboard box and you can never find anything. So we'll be adding things to that, but we'd love to have it in something that we can, organize in. 3, 5 more folding chairs. I was going to do the 12 Days of Christmas thing, 5 folding chairs. I won't. We have 25 chairs right now, but as you can see, they're almost full. So 5 more chairs. And then the last one, which is a little bigger, is a cart to stack all those chairs on and wheel them around. I know they exist. So if any of you is capable and interested, please think about that. Vacuum, tool, chairs, cart. I'm off. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris Kitzman. She does so much. Let's Jackie's going to come up and talk. Okay. Jackie, could you come up, please? We're going to hear a little bit about broadband in the county from someone who works quite a bit on it. Jackie Ludke-Borzon is here. Thank you, Jackie. Good to have you here. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thanks so much. I just wanted to give a quick update. I know that Tim was here several months ago, so I'll just premise that with this conversation, I can't answer questions about specific addresses and saying when am I going to get broadband. Not my exact area. Happy to take some notes and to pass it along, but just wanted to preface that. So with Benzie Broadband, I just wanted to let you know about a county-wide task force that the county and Grow Benzie has put together. So I'm working for Grow Benzie now, which is exciting. That's a recent update, but I started helping out there with this broadband initiative back in March. They applied for the Robin grant and was awarded that grant earlier in 2023. Tim talked about that. That is working with those providers to get more cable in the ground, and to get that money was for kind of that infrastructure. There's going to be more federal state funding coming down the pipeline, focusing on digital equity and digital opportunities. It's a little nebulous still because Of course, there isn't any specific information out yet, but this task force that we put together, we're really proud of it. We have over 20 people that are representing all area, schools, libraries. We have somebody from Munson Healthcare on a regional level. We have Benzie Pride. So we really, there's several counties that are working with Merit. They did that moonshot survey from a couple years ago. They're working with just a few different counties in the state, and I'm really proud to say that Benzie is one of them. And some of those other counties kind of took the approach, hey, we're just gonna get maybe like 3 to 5 people on this task force, and we're just gonna kind of make the decisions. Benzie, it was really easy for us. We didn't even consider doing anything else, where we just said more the merrier, because when you get 20 people, maybe 15 can make it regularly, and you're going to get those 8 to 10 folks who are really engaged. So we've been discussing going through with Merit. We have a representative from Merit who's kind of helping out on a kind of theory to practice, so putting some academic research to practice in the county. We're a bit of a guinea pig, but it's exciting to see. We've had 2 breakout groups. We have one breakout committee that's really helping with what we think is going to be a challenge process. So there's going to be some maps coming down the pipeline. I was hoping to have a bit more specific information for this presentation, to give some flyers and some specific dates. But of course, we're waiting for the state and the feds, and that information isn't out yet. So we are still in a bit of a holding pattern, but I'll be sure to send that information out once I have specifics. But we're excited about this breakout group. These are kind of like watchdogs, so I feel like there's some really similar energy here, where we have some folks who, on some statewide calls, it's Benzie folks asking all of the questions and bringing up all of the topics. And it's just, I'm so proud, because every single time there's like 3 of us, and we're like, we try to give other people chances, and then we're like, how about this question? And have you thought about this? And have we thought about this? So I'm really proud that, on a statewide level, we try not to say Benzie too many times, because I think folks are going to start rolling their eyes if they haven't already. But I just wanted to let you know that we have some really great folks, some bulldogs who are really passionate about broadband, and making sure that not too many households. We know it won't be perfect, but we want to make sure that these providers, these ISPs, they say they're going to do it. Well, we want to make sure that we're kind of having some oversight. But there's also going to be some questions about training, devices, elderly folks, educators. We're really trying to look at this holistically. And the goal is by March to have some recommendations that we'll put forward to the county. We're hoping we have some action steps, but ultimately this task force is putting together some recommendations so that when federal and state funding comes down the pipeline later this year, maybe next year, again, we all know how that goes. You don't really know. It's coming at some point. Hopefully then the county, the commissioners, and as well as the EDC they can make some really educated decisions, and they'll have a group of advocates already set up in the county to help write some grants, support that grant writing process. So it's really exciting. I wanted to share that great kind of community grassroots work that's going on. And just to say that, Benzie, I don't want to, I'm helping facilitate, but obviously we have those individual members of this task force are just doing a great job. And we have a lot of passion around this. So again, nothing is perfect. I don't want to say like, oh, everything's going to be fine. It still takes people from all over. But I feel really great about the future of broadband and making sure that we have, some holistic, equitable expansions here in the county coming down the pipeline.
Thank you, Jackie.
Okay, I don't want to say if we want to open it up for questions.
We could take a few questions if there are questions. Anybody have a question? All right, we got a question.
Hi, I'm Rich. So you have a lot of enthusiasm and you have some dedicated people, it seems like. Is there any funds been appropriated for this?
So besides the Robin grant, the county did set aside about $200,000 to help with broadband efforts. So right now, those funds are helping with a bit of this task force, and then they have a consultant. His name is Mitch Shapiro. He's working really closely with Tim, but that's helping. Mitch is amazing. He has a full career in this field, and he's the one who's really kind of driving a lot of the technical questions. That's been a big thing. Is, folks in Benzie, we know a little bit, but no one in Benzie County is an expert. And so it's been really great to work with Mitch because he's been able to really help advocate and drive a lot of these technical, smart questions so that when we show up with merit and when we're in those statewide conversations, we have somebody who has our back. So I know that there was a little bit of some rustling of feathers when Tim talked about some funds, but I just want to let you know that those funds aren't getting all spent at once, but they're really helping to kind of set the foundation for future broadband. And that was different than, that helped get the Robin grant, frankly, and that those funds will also help with future grant writing if the county chooses to go in that direction and kind of spend that full amount. So I can't speak for how exactly those funds are getting spent because that's at a county level, but I can tell you that that initial money has been helping kind of create this holding environment for these conversations to happen. And from what we've heard, we think that, commissioners will be open to, they've heard from their people that they want broadband. So I'm very optimistic, but can't give you any guarantees that future funds will go, that the county will go after future funds. But again, that's not up to the task force. That ultimately is we're making those recommendations to our commissioners. Again, all the more important for folks to run in 2024 because likely those decisions will be made by the next, like the newly elected core that comes in November, January.
I have a question too.
Sure.
What is there a timeline here? Has there already been any cable as a result of this?
Yeah,
what's the time frame?
Yeah, and I won't say the task force can't take credit, but yes, I don't know if anybody saw even just less than a month ago, even between Benzonia and Frankfurt, they were laying some. That would be a Tim question. We've been really focused on some mapping, so I haven't gotten an update in the last month or so, but we're in kind of pretty regular communication. So the next update, I'm happy to kind of share out what I'm able to. Again, there's some confidentiality issues where I don't know how some of this information will be shared, but yeah, I mean, things are happening. And I think the big thing is it's working with multiple providers. I shouldn't probably say who we're most concerned about, but the biggest provider who tends to not have the greatest customer service is, the unnamed provider. We're most worried about that provider. And then another provider kind of coming who got funds that are starting pretty far south in the state and are coming up north. So some of those dates are like 2026. In 2027, and we don't like those dates, but some of that is out of our hands because it is federal funds that were awarded on that timeline, but that's kind of this task force. We have some watchdogs. So, yep, I think we're out of time, but I'm happy to answer some questions later individually.
Yes. Thank you, Jackie. Jackie Ludke-Borazan. Yes, she's also on our campaign committee and being a big help there too. It's great to have her with us. Okay, next up here, we've got Kira Duvernoy, our co-chair, is going to talk to us about some very positive stuff. I hope you can handle that. It's very positive.
Okay, well, we don't have too much time before we have the reason you're all here, which is not to listen to me, but I do have a list of some great news sources that will keep you from being depressed by the average everyday news out there. And that list is both on the chat, and there's a paper up front that lists 4 different places where you can get news into your inbox. But I wanted to call special attention to one news site that every Sunday, it's called Chop Wood, Carry Water, daily actions at substack.com. And every Sunday, the author of this newsletter puts out the wins for the week. And there are more wins than you can imagine, many of them flying way under the radar. So for example, last Sunday, she has a huge list of things that I want to just pick out a couple to read to you. Scientists have found a way to help Alzheimer's drugs seep into the brain faster. So that's not something you're going to hear necessarily. A federal judge ruled that North Dakota's legislative districts violate Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act by diluting Native American voting strength, and they have ordered new maps. And again, it goes on and on. Health insurance enrollment through the Affordable Care Act has broken records for the 3rd consecutive year. Carrie Lake lost in court again. So on and on it goes. And so if you do nothing else but just tune in on Sunday to her newsletter and look at all the good things that have happened, it's a good thing to do for your heart and soul. So again, this list of resources is up front, or just ask me and it's in the chat. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Let's thank Kira for her wonderful service. Okay, we just received notice that our great Secretary of State has arrived, and I've asked Jana to introduce her.
You are going to get tired of hearing my voice. But people have the power to vote. We all know that. And our next speaker is one of the leading voices in our state and our nation for ensuring we, the people, can vote safely and securely. Our 43rd Secretary of State oversaw Michigan's 2020 and 2022 general elections, both of which drew record-breaking turnout and were more secure than any other election in Michigan's history. Her many awards include the John F. Kennedy Profile and Courage Award, and this amazing woman, one of 4 fabulous members of Michigan's top leadership, has done many things to make voting more secure and processes easier to use for state residents. My favorite is the return of the vintage Winter Wonderland license plates. When she was asked by a reporter why the first one was blue and gold and why is the answer the University of Michigan, she surprised the reporter by telling a different tale. The blue and gold license plate was on Viola Liuzzo's Oldsmobile, I think this is an Oldsmobile, when the Detroit mother of 5 was murdered by members of the Ku Klux Klan while fighting for voting rights in Alabama in 1965. I was 15 when Viola Liuzzo died, but her work for voting rights inspired me to become a poll worker. She's one of my heroes. So it is a great pleasure and a distinct honor that I now welcome, Secretary to Secretary, another of my heroes, Michigan Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson.
Hi. Oh, it's so great to see you all. I wish I could be there with you in person. I almost was, but I instead spent 4 hours in the Detroit Metro Airport yesterday with Debbie Stabenow, who was also on her way up. So that was fun. I got to hang out with our senator for 4 hours, and so, you know, lemonade. But that said, sorry I can't be there with you all. I will be. I'm going to try to come up in February. I think Betsy Kofia told me there is a event in February, like the 17th or something, that maybe Grand Traverse Dems are doing. So I'm going to try to get up there again soon, hopefully before too long, and see you all in person. But thank you for giving me the opportunity to stop by today and talk about what we're on the precipice of, which is really—
No, I don't want gallery. I want speaker.
Hi, Penny.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's just a precipice of a historic election year in 2024. Now, we saw in 2020, the last presidential election, just how far people were willing to go to block the will of the people and really interfere, not just with the voting process, which is oftentimes what we're focused on, but also the counting process and the certification process. And then they tried to interfere with the passage of the Electoral College votes to the National Archives. And we saw that interference go all the way to our US Capitol and the tragedy that unfolded there on January 6th. So with that, I hope taught all of us which is that there's no bottom and there's no end to how far people are willing to go to, in this moment, try to overturn election results they don't like. And that's essentially what it was all about. I remember when people were gathered outside my home in 2020, protesting the election. They were protesting me, but they weren't actually protesting me. They were protesting the results of the will of the people in Michigan, and they wanted me and others to overturn them. And I found great strength in that moment in having a almost stronger determination than ever before to make sure we defend those results and to make sure we continue to build and expand our democracy in Michigan, which is what we've actually done over these last several years. In 2020, we worked to ensure we had a smooth and secure election in the midst of a global pandemic, and we saw more people vote in Michigan in that election than ever before. And then in 2022, we had the highest turnout midterm election in our state's history. And on top of that, we led the nation in youth vote turnout in Michigan in 2022. Now, it's still not enough. We still want more people voting, more young people voting, more communities all across the state voting. And that's why citizens got together and amended our state constitution, not once, but twice, to expand voting opportunities in our state even more. So as we enter into 2024, we have really three things that we're focused on as we prepare for the 3 statewide elections that are coming our way: the presidential primary in February, the August primary, and of course, the big show in November. It starts with making sure that we have the people in place to protect democracy for everyone. Recruiting election workers is one of our top priorities this year. We have a website, michigan.gov/democracy-MVP. I'll put it in the chat before I go, where anyone can go and sign up to be an election worker. It's one of the best ways you can serve democracy, and it's also one of the best ways you can learn firsthand about all the secure measures we have in place to protect every vote and count every vote securely. The more expertise we all develop in that, the more we can be truth tellers to those who are trying to deceive citizens and harm what they should have is rightly placed confidence, but trying to harm that confidence in our elections. So signing up to be an election worker and recruiting others to be an election worker, as well as protecting our election workers, protecting the people who protect democracy, is a top priority. The legislature passed and the governor signed my bill to ensure we have criminal penalties for anyone who will threaten election workers. That's been crucial as we work to ensure we have all the protections in place we need for this year. But the second thing we're focused on really yields to the first, which is implementing the vast majority of new laws that our legislature and our voters have amended our Constitution to create, the top of that list being early voting in every statewide election. So our number 2 goal for 2024 is implementing all of these changes, but in particular, early voting. Now, before every statewide election in Michigan, we will have at least 9 days of early voting, which means essentially any voter can go to any voting site throughout the state and cast their ballot. Well, they have to go to their own early voting center, but you can cast your ballot in the week before the election, the weekend before, 2 Saturdays before. It's 2 weekends and the weekend between every election day that people can now vote in person and see their ballots count. It's created a new and robust option for people to cast their ballots, and we need your help getting the word out about it and ensuring people have faith that if they choose to vote early, their vote will count and their voice will be heard. Importantly, we now have 3 ways in which people can vote in Michigan. One is, of course, early voting, as I just mentioned. The second is the old time-tested traditional way of just voting in your precinct on election day itself. And the third is absentee voting. If you want, you can vote from home, or you could get your ballot ahead of time, fill it out at your leisure, and return it any way you want, as long as it's in by 8 p.m. on election day. Now, that has already started for our presidential primary. People can already start requesting their absentee ballots, and you can request it online at michigan.gov/vote, in person at your clerk's office, or through the mail. And the good news is, also new this year, when you return your ballot, you can return it through the mail and postage will be prepaid, or you can return it in person at one of the drop boxes in your community. And there is now 1 drop box for every 15,000 voters in our state. Also very exciting. And if you do vote that way, you'll now be able to track your ballot and ensure it was received and counted at michigan.gov/vote. So prepaid postage, more drop boxes than ever before, and ballot tracking are also now in place new for this year. So lots of new ideas, lots of new policies in place. We still have all the ways in which people can register to vote online, in person, at their clerk's office, or they can go on election day to their clerk's office and register and vote right there. So voter registration is easier than ever. Voting is easier than ever. And ensuring our citizens know the truth about their vote and their voice is indeed our greatest challenge for 2024. So the third priority we have this year is really countering the misinformation that is designed to deceive and divide and demobilize our citizens, and instead ensure everyone knows the truth about their voice and their vote in our elections. And so we also need your help there, becoming expert yourself, perhaps even election workers yourselves in our elections, and then helping to ensure people who have been lied to at least know how to ask questions in a way that will lead them to the truth. For example, anyone can submit questions or allegations that they hear about our elections to misinformation@michigan.gov. And if they do so, it will be answered directly as well as posted on our website, michigan.gov/SOS fact check. That, and I'll put all these in the chat, but all of that will help us provide one standalone portal for people to submit their questions and see them answered. And of course, we'll also be going around the state and having voter confidence town halls to ensure people can ask questions about the vote and get answers. A number of organizations like Keep Our Republic and Voters Not Politicians are doing the same, all of which are designed to make sure we are countering misinformation and giving people the facts about voting. Thank you for posting the email in the chat. So all told, we are ready to go for 2024. I'm excited about our elections this year. We have an incredible track record of success for the last several years, seeing more people vote, having our elections go smoothly, and resisting and protecting our democracy from those who would try to dismantle it. All of that is designed to make sure that your voice and the voice of every citizen in the state is heard and protected at the ballot box, and that the will of the people are truly those who the will of the people is protected and are truly those who determine who win any election in our state. So with that, thank you again for having me. I'm excited to see you in person again soon, and happy to take a few questions while I'm here.
Thank you, Secretary Benson. This was a real treat. We do have one question in the chat. If anybody else has any questions, they can put it in the chat. This question is, I understand why the court challenge to the former president's name on the primary ballot failed. However, my understanding of Michigan election law is that he can be kept off the general election ballot. Will you do what your main colleague has done?
I disagree with what my main colleague has done, and I can go into that, but the law is clear. It's the U.S. Supreme Court that can determine the definitions, the legal definitions that are in the law for determining candidate qualifications. So we submitted a brief this week to the U.S. Supreme Court in the case that will decide it. And if those of you haven't seen my Washington Post article from September, as someone who has written a book on secretaries of state and has, as a law professor, studied this area of the law my whole career, I feel very strongly that when you have ambiguous legal questions that have never been answered before, it's not up to a partisan politician, even someone who was a law professor and has studied this area of the law and has my own view on it. I don't have the authority, and the courts in Michigan affirmed that, to make that call. The U.S. Supreme Court is the one that has the authority to interpret our Constitution, especially at a time like this where you have what's called a legal issue of first examination, and no one and no precedent has really helped guide any lower office holders as to how it should be decided. So when it comes to defining insurrection, defining aiding and abetting, and there are multiple definitions of it under the law, it's not up to, in my view, a politician, especially dealing with ballot access concerns, to make that call. It's up to the courts. And again, Michigan courts have all affirmed that position, and the U.S. Supreme Court will ultimately decide this question. My hope is they decide it sooner rather than later, because this has injected, I would say intentionally so, a lot of confusion into the primary system. And it really is focused on three questions that the Supreme Court is looking at. One, the substance of it as first, what is an insurrection? What is Section 14 of the, what is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment require? And what is due process and other things that are tied up in that? Many law professors and former judges have opined on that. The U.S. Supreme Court, under our system of law, is actually the one that has the authority to make that decision with finality. And secondly, the question is who should make that call? There is, and that debate really comes down to, should the courts disqualify a candidate on this issue, or should Congress? No one is, well, with the exception of one person in Maine, saying the secretaries of state should have this authority. Even in Colorado, the case was very clear. It's the courts that make that call. And then the third question to be determined is when. Is the primary process before someone's been nominated the right time to evaluate this particular question, which is different than a candidate's age or a candidate's birthplace or other situations where facts are clearly established or the law is clearly established. When's the right opportunity? Is it in the primary process? Is it in the general election time when someone's already been nominated? Or is it after they're elected? A lot of the jurisprudence would suggest it's after they're elected, which of course would be a disaster on many fronts. Some of the legal cases that apply here but aren't directly controlling suggest that Congress, not the courts, should make this determination. So there's a lot of unanswered questions here. And when you have that many unanswered questions, which you don't have in scenarios as to whether Obama should serve a third term, which the facts and the law are clear on, when you have these many questions which many people can disagree on, it becomes all the more important to make sure the decision maker is the one that under our law has the authority to make that call. In our legal system, it is the U.S. Supreme Court. They will be holding oral arguments on February 8th on this issue and hopefully issuing a substantive final decision on the matter within a few weeks after that, I hope. So I know it is something, I know it would be great to just nip this in the bud and remove someone from the ballot because we don't like them or all that, but we have to do it right. It has to be the law that is followed. And the procedure has to be correct as well, because every step we take in democracy creates a precedent for the next election or creates a precedent for other candidates. We have to be mindful of that as well. And we can't allow issues as serious as this to be in the future misused or abused to further political agendas. And if we don't get the procedure right here, it could be misused or abused in the future.
Thanks for that very thorough answer.
You can tell I've been talking about this a lot for the last 6 months. So the law professor in me comes out.
Do we have any more questions here in the room? I know that there's one on the chat. Go ahead.
The other question on the chat that we have, Secretary Benson, is are you aware of any other states that have a misinformation website for these elections?
Various states are doing various different things. I'm working directly with our battleground states, Nevada, Wisconsin, Arizona, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, to make sure we're doing that same sort of thing. That's where my focus has been, and also just really Michigan.
Okay. Any other questions from chat or from folks here in the room? You covered it so well, Madam Secretary, I gotta say.
Well, I hope to see you all again soon. We've got a lot of work ahead of us this year. I love you all and all the work you do every day to be a voice for the people in Benzie and all throughout Northern Michigan. So I hope to get up there again soon. Hopefully next month, that's what I'm working towards now. But if not, next month, sometime in the next couple of months, and see you all in person. Bye.
Great, thank you. Okay, well, that pretty much concludes our meeting, unless there's somebody else who needs to shout out some real community announcement or another. And if not, we're going to end this meeting in a new way, kind of like, you know, how when you're going out of church, they play something on the organ and you're feeling good and shaking hands and hugging people you haven't seen in a while. We're or synagogue, okay? Do they do that over there? No?
We do that beforehand. We go eat now.
Oh, okay. Okay, a question from Diane Wilbur.
Not a question, just go Lions.
Okay, well, Bill, if you want to roll our little concluding musical interlude there. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all here in headquarters. There's still more food. Help us. You might get stuck on the way home and be really glad you ate a lot of food before you got home. So, you know, you might want to do that. Take something with you if you want. Feel free to sing along if you want.
I was dreaming, in my dreaming, well of an aspect bright and fair. And my sleeping, it was broken, but my dream, it lingered near. In the farmer, shining valleys, where the pure air rarefied, and my senses were newly opened. I will waken into the cry that the people have the power to redeem the work of fools upon the meek. The grace is showered, it's decreed, the people rule. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. Believe it. Aspects became suspect and bending low as if to hear, and the armies ceased advancing because the people had their ear, and the shepherds and the soldiers, well, they laid beneath the stars, exchanging visions, led arms to waste in the dust, in the former shining valleys, where the pure air rarefied, my senses newly opened, I'm waking to the cry. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. Where there were deserts, small fountains, and like cream, the waters rise, and we strolled there together, around the land, or criticized, and the leopard and the lamb, and they together, a true band. When I was hoping, in my hoping, to recall what I found. I was dreaming, in my dreaming, no, perfume, as I surrendered into my sleeping, I commit my dream to you. No, people have the power to dream. People have the power to vote. People have the power to strike. People have the power to love. The people have the power to rule. People have the power. Young fools. People have the power. People rule. People have the